Mike Owens here. Today I'm joined by David Feldman, the founder and president of BareKnuckle Fighting Championships. David, a pleasure to get your time. How are things with you today?
Thank you, man.
Obviously, it's a big day, a big announcement. We're going to get a little bit into that, but I also just want to talk about first and foremost, start with the 4th of November show, the special rules bout versus Saenchai and Buakaw, two Muay Thai legends. First of all, how are your emotions promoting such a big fight between two Muay Thai legends?
I mean, anything that we do, like this is, I think, kind of what I try to specialize on and do is doing things that everybody says you can't do and doing things that people don't do. And everybody said that Saenchai and Buakaw would never fight. And I'm like, oh, yeah, watch. So we were able to do this. And like I said on my last interview, you don't. The reason why we're doing it with special Muay Thai rules is because I think it's not doing the fans, the fighters, or anyone justice if we limit those guys to only their knuckles, right? So let's let them do the elbows, the knees, and the kicks. No throwdowns, no real clinch, 3-second clinch. It's got to be action, and I think it could actually be something that where we change the Muay Thai world a little bit and take the boring part of the Muay Thai out of it and make it complete excitement. So, long story short, I'm super, super excited about that. I think it's going to be a very, very widely viewed event, and I can't wait for it.
I presume the market over there, that Asia and specifically Thailand market, is one that you're looking to break into even more. How big do you anticipate this fight will be over in that side of the world?
I think over there, well, it's sold out over there right now, but I think we just signed a deal with True TV, which is the second largest TV network in Thailand. I just think it's going to be massive. You know, it's a shame that it's not, you know, it doesn't come at 7 or 8 p.m. New York time, because I think then we would have millions and millions of viewers. But I think we're still going to do good over there. And look, since we are trying to be a global company, to get the viewership over there is almost as good as getting it over here for us.
How easy was the fight to make for two fighters? I mean, I know we've got the special rules. I'm sure that makes Buakaw and Saenchai slightly more enticed in terms of fighting. But how difficult was the fight to actually get over the line?
Well, I think it was a chance for them to really prove themselves. They always wanted to do this, but nobody could make it work. We paid them good. We paid them something that they haven't been paid before, and I think that they're just excited to prove themselves because, you know, everybody says, would Buakaw beat Saenchai or would Saenchai beat Buakaw? And guess what? On November 4th, you're going to find out.
Just to play devil's advocate with you, David, but I had a conversation with another Muay Thai legend, Liam Harrison, about a month ago. I asked him his thoughts on this fight, and whilst he's excited for the fight, his one kind of concern was that Buakaw and Saenchai are good friends. They have been legends for a long time, and that there is a potential this fight could turn into a play spar, if you like. Is there any worry on your end that could potentially happen, or if you got reassurances from both camps?
I mean, the stipulations I put in their contract will assure that doesn't happen. If it does happen for some reason, they just did it for free then because they're not getting paid. So they know that it's stipulated in their contract. If there's any suspicion at all that it's a sparring match, that they will absolutely not get paid. So I think that they understand that and they know that, and I think that they both have too big of egos and too big of reputations to let that happen. I just don't see it happening. I understand the concern, and that's why I put the stipulations in their contract, but I don't see it happening now. I just see, I mean, look, anything's possible, but I can't see them wanting to do all this hype, do all this hoopla to get it to where it is and then fight for free.
Look, I just quite very quickly to watch your interview with Ariel Helwani where you were talking about the increase in shows you've had from 2019 to 2023. I believe 26 shows was the number that you referenced, or 32?
32 this year. Next year, we're going to expand more, but what we're doing is we're going to actually do 24 of the prospect shows that we just did. Those are the feeder league shows. Look, in MMA, you got the UFC doing 40-something shows a year, right? But if you take all these regional and local MMA promotions, just in the United States, there's probably 30,000 shows a year. So we're going to do 24 shows a year. You know, we need to develop fighters. We need to do things that are going to develop these fighters and give ourselves the chance to create our own stars. And that's the only way we're going to be able to do it is by doing these smaller shows, finding out who has what it takes to actually fight for BKFC.
So you're essentially, for the MMA comparison, you're trying to be the UFC and the LFA or the Cage Fury at the same time. You're trying to be the major leagues and also the feeder league to the major leagues. Is that correct?
I mean, look, we're the major league in bare knuckle fighting right now,
Yeah.
but I definitely want to be. I'll never go out there and say I want to take the UFC down. I want to take this company down. That's not my goal. That's not what I'm trying to do. What I'm really just trying to do is I'm trying to create our own lane, which we've done, establish ourselves as the best bare knuckle fighting organization in the world, and letting everybody know that bare knuckle fighting is really the most exciting combat sport on planet Earth. That's really my goal. And I think if those goals happen, then we don't have to compete for this or compete for that. The viewership doesn't lie. Look, I just had a meeting with one of my TV networks that's carrying us, and we are the #1 rated sports show on their network, bar none. Crazy. We're the #4 program on their entire network with all programs. So we're doing very, very, very good with viewership, and the proof is in the pudding, right? Like, I don't have to say we're going to do this, we're going to do that. I mean, I had to do that at the beginning so people would listen. Now, when I get the numbers back, it's there.
No, 100%. Well, let's talk about the event that you announced earlier this afternoon. Mike Perry taking on Eddie Alvarez in the main event at BKFC 56 in Salt Lake City. I spoke with Mike about 3-4 weeks ago, and he said that he had the name and he was waiting for you guys to announce it. I'm wondering if this was always the name that you planned to go with Mike, or is maybe a switch up and you changed up with getting Alvarez over the line.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I'd just like to know, has Mike Perry versus Eddie Alvarez, has that always been the plan for this card, or has there been other names in that?
No, that's been the plan for this card. It was just a matter of getting some things organized that we had to do, and we were waiting for Utah to open up as a legal state for bare knuckle. It did, so we were able to announce it now. What I was a little surprised, I thought that more people would be saying that Mike Perry is going to win easily because he's bigger. And what I'm reading online is it's about 50-50. It's about 50% of the people are saying Perry and 50% of the people are saying Alvarez. And that makes me really happy because that makes people really interested in watching the fight.
It feels like the perfect combination of guys. You've got Platinum Mike Perry and the Underground King. The nicknames speak for themselves. How excited are you for this fight? Because it's got action written all over it.
I mean, when I do a fight like this, it's got to be a great fight. And I don't think there's any way in the world this isn't a great fight. Whether it's a quick knockout or it's a barn burner for 5 rounds, I can't see this being a boring fight. It is not, I don't think either of these guys know how to be in a boring fight. And that's why I'm really, really excited about it. Really excited about the undercard as well. I mean, I think we have the most stacked top 6 fights we've ever had. All 12 fights on this card are going to be phenomenal. It's going to be a great debut in Salt Lake City, and I think everybody's going to get really excited about it.
I love it. And just talking about Perry for a second, because he's kind of become, as I label, the face of bare knuckle. Obviously, we've seen him doing his thing over on my side of the world in Manchester as the alternate for Logan Paul Dylan Dennis fight. But as a kind of entity in bare knuckle, how big has Perry been for you as kind of the face or the star?
I think and Michael say it, we helped each other, right? As we resurrected him from the UFC, and we were able to help him become a really, I think he's a major star in combat sports now. At the same time, he talks very good about us. He knows what to say, when to say it. He's just a walk-in drop, whatever you'll say. He knows what to drop, and he knows when to drop it. And he does good, and he talks good about the organization. He's a great guy. He's a great family man. So I think, look, I always say this, whether I'm talking to sponsors, whether I'm talking to TV networks, whether I'm talking to fighters, I said, listen, we have to establish a great partnership. And if we establish a great partnership, then it works for everybody. And if it doesn't work for everybody, it doesn't work for anybody.
I'm sure you'll have seen the viral video from Saturday night of Mike clinching up with his old-time rival, Darren Till.
Yeah.
Was that fight ever potentially discussed?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's something that could absolutely be down the road. I think a lot of people want to see that. I think it's a fight that's a fun fight. It's exciting. Both guys, come forward, and they already had a rivalry. So I think it's something that absolutely could be made in the future. But listen, Mike Perry has to get by Eddie Alvarez, and that's not going to be an easy task for him.
No, of course, 100%. And when we look down this card, we see a lot of legends throughout mixed martial arts, from combat sports who've transitioned over into BKFC. We've got Jeremy Stevens, Jimmy Rivera, Eddie and Mike, obviously, in the main event. What is kind of your process for signing big talent? I mean, we've talked about the development and the progression leagues that you have What is the process for getting the bigger names, the main eventers and the co-main eventers over the door?
Well, I think it's the guys that I think first of all will come to fight. They come, then they'll fight their asses off, and I think it's guys that also people will talk about, right? Like they're like, wow, he's fighting BareKnuckle. Wow, he's fighting BareKnuckle. So that's good. Like had Ben Rothwell went to Bellator or PFL or something like that, nothing against those organizations. I just don't know if people would have been very excited about it. But because he went to BareKnuckle, they go, wow, let's see what happens there. Same thing with Jeremy Stevens. Same thing with Jimmy Rivera. I think we have the wow factor, and I think that's what gets people really interested in this thing. And I think that we really blow up their profile when they fight for us. And I think that's why they kind of want to fight for us. But let's not forget the BareKnuckle fighters we have on this card, too. We have Beck Rawlings fighting Christine Faria, who's probably one of the best pound for pound men or women fighters in our organization. You have Arnold Adams fighting Mick Terrell in a rematch of a fight that Arnold Adams won by a knockout when Mick Terrell just came off of COVID. So there's some redemption there. Obviously, he's a UK guy, and everybody wants to see him in the UK win that championship. That's going to be a tremendous matchup as well. And then we have just so many guys and girls in the undercard. It will probably be our best head-to-toe matchup from top to bottom. And I think that we're going to sell out that venue of 10,000 people in Salt Lake City, and it's going to be a big statement for BKFC.
Lovely. How big do you obviously this is a very loaded question, but how big, when you look at your progression and when you look at the growth of the sport and the company, how big do you think BKFC can become? I mean, we just talked there about you saying you don't want to be just a particular rival to the UFC, but how big do you think it can become? Because obviously, playing devil's advocate, there is a lot of facial damage that can potentially be caused that could maybe put some audiences off. How big do you think that the franchise can become?
I mean, absolutely. But look, at the end of the day, we have a lot of safety protocols. We have the best fight doctor in the business, Dr. Don Muzi. And, you know, his data shows us that we don't have the concussive and subconcussive damage. We don't have the facial fractures. We don't even have the handbrakes that boxing and MMA have. Yes, we have lacerations, but guess what? They get fixed and they look normal in 2 weeks, right? If you get your brain rattled too much and you have concussive damage, you're not going to be able to speak right? And that's not what these fighters want to do. So yes, it looks a little more dangerous, but it's not as dangerous. And a lot of these fighters, you know, want to come and fight for us. But let me get back to your original question. Your original question is, how big do I think I can get? I think there's really no telling where we can be. I think we can be as big as anything or anybody in the world. And I'll tell you why. Because bare-knuckle fighting is relatable. And I'm going to explain that. If me and you were in a room at a restaurant and I walked around that restaurant and said, do you know what a omoplata is? Or do you know what a Darce choke is? Most people are going to go like, no. And if I said, do you know what a bare knuckle punch to the face is? Have you ever seen one? Have you ever thrown one? Have you ever been hit with one? 90% of the people will say yes. It's relatable to everybody, man, woman, doesn't matter your color, doesn't matter how old you are. You know what a bare knuckle punch is. So I think it's just more relatable to the regular general public than any other combat sport out there. And that's why I think our trajectory can be bigger than anything in the world.
Yeah, no, 100%. Couldn't agree more. And when we see an event like Saturday night that Mike was involved in terms of misfit boxing, do you have any interest in crossing over into that, maybe trying to tease the likes of Jake Paul? Do you think any of those guys have any interest in moving?
I mean, we had Bryce Hall fight, who was one of the biggest TikTokers in the world. We do have we're talking to Austin McBroom and a couple other guys right now. So I won't get into influencer boxing, but I will get into influencer bare knuckle. I mean, if guys want to take the gloves off and fight, you know, bare knuckle, and they are skilled. I mean, that's the most important thing. They have to be skilled. This can't be this TikToker fights this YouTuber and they don't have any experience. I won't do that. But Austin McBroom is a professional boxer. I mean, you know, he's not saying he's completely experienced, but he had a professional boxing match. A lot of these guys have had professional boxing matches, so those kind of guys would be able to step into our ring. But as far as guys off the street and, you know, just coming out as an influencer, we don't want to get into that.
Social media-wise, I checked the numbers. Bryce Hall has over 3 times the amount of Instagram followers than current UFC featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski. How big do you think Bryce Hall can be as a potential, if he decides to have a second fight? How big do you think he can be as another potential?
Well, you know, that's when he fought, we did 5.4 million concurrent live views on 4 different platforms. So 5.4 million concurrent live views. 5.4 million people were watching that event at the same time. to put that in perspective, that's more than watched at the same time Conor McGregor fight Floyd Mayweather. So think about that. You know what I mean? I'm not saying we're bigger than Conor McGregor or Floyd Mayweather. Don't get me wrong. But I'm saying these kind of kids or men that want to come into this organization that can bring that kind of social media and marketing power with them, we're all over that.
100%. Last one from me, David. I appreciate you're a very busy man. We've previewed the event on December 2nd, obviously, as you've alluded to, possibly the biggest in BKFC history. But if people aren't already looking to buy a ticket to get to the show or to watch the pay-per-view, give them the reason why they should.
Yeah, I mean, if you never watched BareKnuckle before, it's the most exciting, fast-paced combat sport on planet Earth, bar none. It's unbelievably exciting. It's unbelievably fun, and I guarantee if you watch it, you go out of there and you'll never not want to watch another BKFC event again. In addition to that, you're going to have a very marquee main event in Eddie Alvarez versus Mike Perry, two guys who know how to talk and fight, and they know how to back it up. And I think because we're bringing all that excitement, plus the other 11 fights that we have on that card, it's going to be one hell of a card to watch. And I really implore you to watch BKFC 56, December 2nd, Salt Lake City, Utah, at the Maverick Center. All your ticket and viewing information will be at BKFC.com.
I love it. David, thank you for your time. Congratulations on the announcement. Wish the best of luck with the fact that the lead of the fight. Look forward to speaking to you in the future.
All right.
Make sure to subscribe to the LowKick MMA YouTube channel for all the latest news, event previews, and interviews with some of the biggest stars in MMA.